My name is Grace Davidson, and this is my story. I was born and raised in Tri-Cities. I've lived in this house since I was, I think, 4. And so being an adult and living in it is a little weird. Both my parents were elected officials, so we've all gotten very used to politics and just that whole community in Tri-Cities. Being the youngest of 3, I have an older sister who is about 8 years older, and then my brother is 18 months older. We got asked if we were twins a lot, and he never treated me like the younger sister. He treated me as an equal. So there was a lot of times growing up where I would say, well, if my brother can do it, why can't I? It was not a normal childhood, but like in the best way. So I remember at one point I really wanted this Barbie doll. I was dead set on having this Barbie doll. And my parents, I think it was close to my birthday, so they kept saying, oh, let's wait. And I did not want to. So I took it upon myself to get a paper route because I was gonna buy myself that Barbie doll if I wanted it. At 9 years old, I was the paper deliverer. My brother would help out. And I remember when I was 10, we won the Tri-City Herald Delivery Award, I guess, for the best paper carriers. And as a 10-year-old, that was like a lifetime achievement. And it just taught me, like, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning had a good thing to it. And it taught me just the effort of hard work. And I bought that Barbie doll for myself, and my parents were upset because that was their gift idea. So I remember in high school taking a career aptitude test, and in every category I got the same score, which was not helpful in the slightest because I already wasn't sure on what I wanted to do. And so I was looking at that and just looking for, answers. And I remember my teacher saying, well, I guess you'll be happy in whatever you do. And I think I was so unsure because my parents did a pretty good job with like keeping us out of the public and not making us do too many political things as kids. And then when I finally did start doing political things around 16, that's when I realized this is it. And that was what I was searching for my entire life. I ran for, I think it was just representative for our freshman year class. And we were doing follow a politician. And so I just asked my dad if I could follow him for a day and just actually learning what he did and like learning about all local elected officials and what they did for the community. I was like, yeah, if I can get paid to do that, great. If I can't, that sounds like a great hobby for me. I actually wasn't planning on going to prom at all. And then one of my friends was like, come on, it's your senior prom. And I reused one of my old homecoming dresses, and last minute I was like, yeah, it's my senior prom. This is my last chance. And so she helped me get ready for the day. And then my sister went and dropped me off. And I remember coming home and just taking like all the makeup off and everything. And I didn't even think of like checking in with my parents or anything. My dad was on a campaign trip, and so he was out of town across the state. And I just went downstairs and went to bed. And then later that night, my dad just rushed in my room and said, it's your mom, call 911. It was a crazy thing. She wanted to stay awake for me to come home from prom, and she took a bath and she just had a heart attack in the bathtub, and that's how my dad found her. And it was one of those things that was so unexpected. And I remember the coroner telling me, he was like, don't feel bad that you didn't check in, because she would have already been passed away, and no 16 or 17-year-old would want to see that. And so it's best that you didn't. It was just a surreal experience. And I remember I had a test So that was on Saturday night, and I had a test on Monday. And I went to school and I was like, I have a test. I can't miss it. It was a really important test. It was, one of the last end of year exams. And my teacher saw me and was like, what are you doing here? Like, it's okay. You don't have to take this test right now. You can redo it. And I was like, I need a distraction. I need to take this test. And I just sat down and took the test and then just went home. And that was, I think, the last time I went to school because it was so close to graduation. It was, a devastating thing for a 17-year-old, but then to also, I was trying to plan graduation while also planning my mom's funeral. And so thinking okay, I can play this song at her funeral, and then I won't play it at graduation, or no, I wanted to play that song for graduation party, and so let's not play it because then it'll be awkward. And I remember originally saying that I didn't want to walk at graduation. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to go to school and get my diploma. And in my mind, my family was just here for a funeral, and I didn't want to inconvenience people to come back. And one of my best friends at the time was like, nope, you're walking. I don't care if I have to come and drag you. This is a monumental moment for you. And I ended up walking, and my dad planned a smaller party, so I didn't feel bad about it. And I am very grateful, looking back, that I did have that moment of walking across the stage and just realizing if I could overcome that, then I could overcome anything that life threw my way. My dad, so he announced he was running in January, and then my mom passed away in May. And he just said, I feel like I should be here with you guys. You just lost one parent, and if I win, I'd have to move across the state. And he just didn't feel like running anymore. And I remember just sitting there one night, and there was just something in me that said, no, that's not an option. We didn't come this far to stop. It was just like walking across the stage at graduation again. I was like, if we could have got through that, we'll get through this. We'll get through the rest of the campaign. And so I came upstairs and I was like, you know what? I'll do it. And he was like, you'll do what? And I said, I'll be your campaign manager. Don't fret. I've got this under control. And I remember him saying, oh, okay. And, politely trying to say no. And I wasn't having it. And I said, no, you are going to finish this. I will call grandma and I will tell her that, you're going to do it. So I called my siblings and I said, we need to come together and support Dad. I think, he was the strong person for us during such a hard time. We need to be the strong one for him right now. And so we all came to the house and said, we think Mom would want you to stay in the race. We think that she knew that you could make a difference in this state, and she would want you to see this through. And so he agreed to let me be the campaign manager, and the flashbacks of being a younger sibling and just always trying to prove myself to others came back. And I immediately was like, okay, so what are we going to do? What's the plan of action? And there definitely were times during the campaign that you could tell me being there, an 18-year-old girl, was awkward. And I was the youngest one in the crowd by 50 years. And there were times where I was a little looked down upon and they didn't take me as serious. And I just didn't let it faze me, because if they can do it, why can't I? And the thought of being a female in a male-dominated arena, I just knew that if you show any weakness, that's what they will latch onto. And so I just went in there so confident and just knowing that I could do it. I remember the first speech I gave was at a Benton County event. And so it relaxed me a little that I knew most of the people in the crowd. And I got a little too confident and I walked up there and I tripped. And I just looked at the crowd and I was like, all right, well, can't get worse than that. So let's go, guys. And I mean, it definitely gave me more confidence of, as long as I don't trip, it'll be okay. I definitely got the stereotypical, well, you're young, how do you know? Or, you know, at the time, I've never even voted in an election. I just turned 18. And so just, you know, that stereotypical, like, preset determination that I wasn't knowledgeable enough. When you go in somewhere with people already thinking that and you have to change their mind, it definitely was harder. But quickly, as people kind of learned our story and learned why he has an 18-year-old doing this for him, and just the father-daughter duo doing this together, and we just grew support throughout the state. Sometimes I'd go to an event for the first time and someone would come up to me and say, "You're Dwayne's daughter." And I would be like, "Yeah, who are you?" And it was just people coming up to us and saying, "We know the story, and if there's anything you need, just let us know." And there's people that to this day we still talk to that, you know, they just reached out to us at a really hard time in our life. So in the primary, there was, I think, 5 candidates, and he made it through to the general election, and it was 2 Republicans against each other, which in Washington State was a crazy thing. It was just breaking that barrier of saying you have to choose between one of these people, and, you know, going to like a Democrat meeting and knowing that they don't necessarily have the same beliefs, but you need to come together for the better good. And he ended up winning, and I think, you might have to fact check me on this, but we won all 39 counties, which in the state of Washington I don't believe has ever been done. And so to just look at that map and see his name on all 39 counties was just one of the best accomplishments I could have asked for. I definitely think it goes back to having a brother that was so close in age to me, and it just always thinking, if he can do it, why can't I? And I remember growing up, he would come in sometimes and ask if he wanted to throw a football in the yard with me. And then when it came to middle school and we had that gymnastics for girls and football for guys, I said, well, I want to do football. I know how to throw a football, and I don't see what learning how to do a cartwheel is going to do for me. And just telling my teacher, no, I want to do that. And he challenged me and said, if you can throw it from here to here, you can do it with us. Probably assuming I wouldn't be able to, but I did. And so they let me do football with the men, always having that, if they can do it, why can't I? Being a female should never be your less. If a man can do it, you should be having that same just motivation of, I can do this. Just because I am a female doesn't mean that I can't.